Vancouver.
Hey, what's the deal with stay-at-home dads tomorrow on AM Northwest?
October 17th, 2001.
31 people now have had positive nasal swabs.
Today, germ warfare, in effect, shut down much of the Congress.
To make sure that we didn't have any anthrax spores loose and moving around any of our office buildings or in the Capitol itself.
And whoever is sending bioterror by mail is hitting the United States where it's most vulnerable.
It's a new form of human warfare.
My biggest concern is getting anthrax and dying before I turn 25.
Well, there's an old terrorist maxim: kill one, terrorize a million.
I don't know when it's ever going to stop. It's scary.
And one of the men in charge of the government's response is feeling the heat.
We're prepared to respond, and we have...
Respond effectively.
Well, I think so.
Tonight, bioterror strikes in the heart of the Capitol as America fights back.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
The House of Representatives will be closed tomorrow. Not because of a holiday, not because it's on recess, but because of anthrax. The Senate will be in session tomorrow. That is, senators will be in the chamber, but most, if not all of their offices will be closed, and most of their staff will not be reporting to work because of anthrax. So you should expect that most of this broadcast tonight will focus on the dangers of biowarfare. But to anticipate some of your questions and complaints as we air some of these terribly troubling issues, let me ask you to briefly consider a world in which we essentially shut down our own information gathering process. It is, in most countries of the world, the only kind of news that shows up in newspapers or on radio and television. The government decides what is in the national interest, and the media disseminate that information. You may find yourselves wondering tonight and in the days to come whether that might not be a safer, a more reassuring environment. But be careful what you wish for. Americans are accustomed to knowing what is going on in their world, and bad news is a necessary part of that. It is how we analyze our problems, how we find solutions, but above all, it is also how our public officials often are held accountable. Earlier this evening, just as I was sitting down to interview the Secretary of Health and Human Services, you'll hear most of that interview a little later, news broke that the Centers for Disease Control had found the anthrax in Florida appears to match the strain of the anthrax in New York. That could be one more indicator of an organized attack.
Well, David Fleming from CDC has made that. He's the Deputy Director of CDC. And I was on the teleconference with him a few minutes ago, and he indicated that was the finding. So as long as David Fleming said that, I have all the faith in the world that's correct. But he also went on to say is that the anthrax in Florida, in New York, in Washington, all three were sensitive to the antibiotics. All three of them shown the same sensitivity, which means, in other words, that all the anthrax is able to be killed or taken care of through the antibiotics that we've been talking about, Cipro and penicillin and doxycycline.
Gotcha. Normally, this is not the kind of question I'd be posing to a Secretary of Health and Human Services, but in this kind of war, you're as much a general as anyone over at the Pentagon is. What do you conclude from that? Do you have to conclude that you're up against the same group of people? Do you have to conclude, in other words, how significant is it that that both of these attacks in New York and Florida use the same kind of anthrax? I don't know what the statistical probability of that is.
I would have to say that you would have to pretty much draw the conclusion that there has to be some connection in order to have the same anthrax in Florida and New York. But as to whether or not it's one individual, a group of individuals, whether or not the anthrax that was sent in Florida is the same group that sent it from same individual or individuals or a group of individuals in Trenton, I don't know. That is for the FBI to decide.
The big news of the day, of course, was the investigation of the anthrax attack on Capitol Hill, here in Washington. It is now clear how sophisticated and dangerous that attack was, and as my Nightline colleague John Donvan reports, how profoundly it has shaken Washington.
As far back as anyone can remember, it has never happened before. A closure of the House of Representatives for several days under duress. Unprecedented. But then again, so was an attack of anthrax on Capitol Hill. The shock today was over how many people were exposed. And the challenge for members of Congress as the information came out through the day and they had to consider themselves at risk personally was what they were supposed to do now.
It's an honor for me to appear in front of your distinguished committee.
The day began with business running on schedule. It is exactly 10 o'clock.
There are significant questions about our preparedness.
Secretary of Health and Human Services is at a hearing, answering questions and seeking more money for civil defense.
We're joining you on the West Coast, special edition of Good Morning America, because there is news.
Then at 10:02 a.m., news is breaking. ABC's Linda Douglas on Good Morning America.
We are being told that roughly 20 members of the staff of Senator Tom Daschle, that is either more than 20 or fewer than 20, have tested positive for anthrax.
Soon after this, Speaker Dennis Hastert tells the media the House of Representatives will close after business today, and he puts the number of anthrax exposures even higher at 29.
This stuff has gotten into the ventilation system. It's going through the tunnels. It was into, the system of those buildings, and also found in the mailroom in the Senate where packages have moved through.
Hastert has already shared this decision with his fellow Republicans at their regular Wednesday morning meeting. Congressman Chris Shays was at that meeting.
The Speaker looked somewhat serious and explained that a handful, frankly a few dozen of Mr. Daschle's staff have contracted this disease, and that decisions were made to send us home.
Where were you? Congresswoman Connie Morella was also there.
And that's when he started to say anthrax, and everybody was absolutely quiet. And he said it in a very serious tone. But the point was, as we know, you don't panic. We have the experts who can handle it all.
11:01 a.m. Word of all that's happening now reaches the hearing room where Tommy Thompson is still testifying.
Secretary Thompson, Senator Levin, I apologize for intervening. I just received a message and request from Senator Daschle that we recess this hearing for now, and that the two of you come with us to the joint caucus of senators to be part of the briefing.
12:45 p.m. Senator Daschle briefs the media on what's going on, and the number goes up again.
I just want to report that in our office, room 509 of the Hart Senate office building, 31 people now have had positive nasal swabs. Not all of those are members of my staff. There were some Capitol Police involved.
Inside two congressional office buildings, lines have formed already for people to be tested for exposure to anthrax anywhere on Capitol Hill. This is in addition to the nearly 1,000 people tested earlier this week. Is there fear in the building at all? Is that the right word?
It's an absence of ease. Everything that we do suddenly has become different. It's taken on a different dimension. We no longer take for granted what we did before, because we know that things that to us are surreal have become real.
12:50 p.m. The Daschle news conference continues. The Senate, he declares, unlike the House, is not shutting down.
It is my strong determination, and Senator Lott's as well, that we will not let this stop the work of the Senate. There will be a vote this afternoon. We will be in session and have a vote or votes tomorrow. And I am absolutely determined to ensure that the Senate continues to do its work.
1:52 p.m., the House Speaker again. He confirms his decision to close the House so it can be swept for possible bacteria.
Speaker, why is the House going out and the Senate staying in? They are being very disdainful of the House.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not sure if they're disdainful or not. It was agreement this morning that we would close our offices this evening.
Standing over Hastert's shoulder, Congressman J.C. Watts. At this point, really, you're saying that the safety of the people who work there trumps any symbolism that might be involved in having to close the building down.
There's a difference in being symbolic and in being stupid. And I think that's what the Speaker and the Minority Leader, I think that's what they concluded. We need to do the smart thing based on the evidence that we have before us.
Others, however, have some doubts about closing the House.
You know, why don't we get out of one building, you inspect it, and we use the others, and we just go building by building. There are just some of us, I think, who feel that ultimately, we need to do our work, and we can't have anyone stop us.
3:10 p.m., new details. It wasn't just Daschle's office.
That's right, Greg. There is some indication now that at least 2 staffers from a staff other than Senator Tom Daschle apparently testing positive for exposure to anthrax. Those 2 staffers, we're told, coming from the office of Wisconsin Democratic Senator Russ Feingold.
Telling you.
Despite all this, the Senate does stick to business.
Mistake.
The Senate floor,
for our government,
4:44
for this administration.
p.m.
And I think we need more clarity from the administration about how we're going to get the food to the people in Afghanistan.
And outside on the lawn, members of Congress offer context for the day they've been through.
You know what? It will happen again. Can it happen as easily? Probably not, because our mail is going to be inspected even more diligently. It just means that the system slows down a bit.
This is all new to us. We don't have any models to use. We don't have anything to tell us we can go to page 37 and see how do we proceed with this. We think it's important that we manage this thing properly and prudently, and based on the decision today, we felt like that was a prudent thing.
Do you feel that Americans are watching to see how you in Congress behave? When you say you're a model, do you think they're actually looking at your behavior and taking a note from you?
I really do. I think we established kind of the climate of the environment and our feeling, and I think this is a universally felt among the members of Congress feeling, is that we're not going to be intimidated. We're going to stand firm.
Compared to other times, the spaces around the Capitol looked deserted today, but we did find a tourist or 2, and one of them was Jerry Clayton, and this is what she took from this hectic day in congressional history.
The amazing thing about the Capitol is that you can be so accessible to it, even after the events. You know, we're walking around. Yet the feeling is very, very different.
Different how?
I was always proud of the Capitol, always loved the Capitol. It has that much more meaning now.
And I'm John Donvan for Nightline in Washington.
Capitol Hill was not the only place today with new reports of anthrax. More on that when we come back.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Lexus.
I like to look at things of beauty. They make me dream. They make me wish. They make me smile.
The all-new Lexus ES 300, a new world of luxury.
When they need to get it fast, count on express mail from the U.S. Postal Service.
We want hug.
The United States Postal Service is everywhere, so you can be anywhere.
What should you do first in a terrorist attack? And what shouldn't you do? Finally, vital new information every family needs to know right now. Primetime Thursday.
It's time to rake in the savings from AT&T Broadband. Get up to 200 channels, including Showtime and Stars, plus free installation and over $100 in savings. Enjoy great TV this fall with a pile of cable favorites, all your local channels, and our handy on-screen guide. Plus, premium entertainment with extra channels of Showtime and multiple channels of Stars. Call 1-800-CABLE-ME now. Get up to 200 channels and save over $100. Hurry, call now.
It was another day of anthrax scares, both real and imagined. Here's Nightline correspondent Chris Bury.
Drip of additional anthrax exposures is indeed causing ripples, large and small, from one end of the country to the other. The power centers of New York, the nation's biggest city and its media capital, remain a clear and obvious target. Today, this Manhattan building was the latest to be roped off in a scene that is all too familiar. Inside, anthrax spores had been detected in the office of Governor George Pataki. None of the employees has tested positive, but as many as 80 of them are now on antibiotics as a precaution, including Mr. Pataki.
Not only do I feel fine, but I intend to go see my kids, go out to a restaurant, try to get tickets to one of the playoff games.
The governor did his best to be reassuring, but if the true aim of these targeted anthrax deliveries is to sow the seeds of fear, they are proving potent weapons.
Yes, I am nervous even. I even called my boss and told him that I'm not even coming back to work for today.
I don't know if it's ever going to stop. I don't know when it's ever going to stop. It's scary.
I have a cautious standpoint. You know, I'm not afraid, and I refuse to allow it to stop me in my life, but I'm definitely more cautious, and I think about it. I'm more somber than I was in the past.
For more than a decade, public response teams have conducted drills for biological or chemical attacks in crowded places like subways. What they haven't trained for is the kind of warfare these narrowly focused incidents represent. Neil Livingston runs an international security firm in Washington.
This is classic asymmetrical warfare. In other words, you can use a little bit of a very deadly substance, affect a very few people, and you can essentially make war on an entire country, on an entire country's economy. And so this is the kind of warfare that our policymakers have been dreading for years because there are no easy answers to it.
Wall Street provided one barometer of that today. The stock market opened strong, then dropped with a nervous twitch at each piece of news from the anthrax front.
The market is very psychological, and when the market sees one piece of bad news followed by another piece of bad news followed by another, it clearly has a negative impact on market psychology, and we saw that throughout the day.
Among the more insidious byproducts of that terror are all the hoaxes and false alarms that can be nearly as jarring as the real thing. Consider what happened today in Baltimore, where the mayor, midway through his police commissioner's weekly press conference, dropped this little bombshell based on a tip he got from the FBI.
That we've received some very general, non-specific, unconfirmed information regarding an anthrax incident proposed to occur in Baltimore at approximately 1:15 p.m. this afternoon.
The city did remain remarkably calm, but deciding whether to go public with such a scary but vague threat is exactly the kind of dilemma that officials at all levels of government are now facing.
I think most people are plenty scared. People don't need to be ignorant as well, or be given false information or media accounts that are only the half-truth.
Mayor O'Malley believes the news may have leaked in a far more frightening way if his office had only informed hospitals and police.
I think some of us in government sometimes worry a little too much about not panicking the public instead of worrying about informing the public when we should. I would rather have my city informed.
Every anthrax scare and every false alarm adds up to an enormous nationwide strain on resources, from hazardous material teams to emergency operators like the extra office that opened in Omaha just to handle all the anthrax calls.
911, this is Venetia. How may I help you?
And in Dallas, 911 lines have been overwhelmed.
We have received some mail that has a white powdery substance and want to report that.
Already, pharmacies are so backed up filling prescriptions for antibiotics like ciprofloxacin that some Americans are crossing the border into Mexico to find them. But today, the American Medical Association warned taking unnecessary antibiotics contributes to the problem of antibiotic resistance, which is a major public health concern.
If we do widespread misuse of ciprofloxacin, the next shoe to drop a few weeks from now, a few months from now, is going to be drug-resistant, common garden variety infections all over America.
Laurie Garrett, a Pulitzer Prize-winning science and medical writer, fears the system is already overtaxed.
In public health departments all over the country, people whose usual duties have to do with general disease surveillance, with protecting your drinking water, protecting your food, watching out for the air quality, those sorts of basic health issues are being shoved over into this emergency category to deal with the hundreds and hundreds of hoax calls. This is just more than our system can take. And if we have to keep this pace up for days and weeks on end, something's going to crack. People just can't keep the pace up. Everybody needs sleep, and other programs in public health are going to suffer.
What makes the threat so devious is the very mundane nature of the mail, and that makes people feel vulnerable, even if they have little cause to fear an exposure, according to psychiatrist Carrie Sulkowitz.
It's one thing to, for instance, know that you can try to defend yourself against terrorists at the airport by heightening security, but the fact that the anthrax is arriving by regular U.S. mail makes people feel a lot more vulnerable. There's a lot. It's a lot more difficult to protect against that. So people are feeling extremely vulnerable right now.
For all the ripples, real and imagined, this asymmetric attack is causing around the country, it's important to remember that the casualty count remains relatively low. As of tonight, only 4 confirmed cases of anthrax are known. 2 of respiratory poisoning, including the man who died in Florida, and 2 cutaneous or skin forms of anthrax, both in New York City. The trouble is, of course, the terrorists have chosen targets, political leaders and the media, guaranteed to multiply the fear factor. Ted?
Thank you, Chris. Late word tonight that Harrisburg International Airport in Pennsylvania was shut down and airspace restrictions implemented. A spokesman for 3 Mile Island said the nearby nuclear power plant had received an unspecified threat. So security measures were issued and flights in the air near Harrisburg diverted. In a moment, a conversation I had earlier with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tommy Thompson.
Enter a new era of discovery at Bristol-Myers Squibb, where groundbreaking genetic research is underway.
Winning the Tour de France was a victory for cancer medicines. But Luke, it's just the start of incredible things to come. Imagine, Luke, your medical history, the story of your genes on a card you carry in your wallet. Your doctor sees your cancer coming years before and gives you a daily pill to take that could prevent it.
At the Bristol-Myers Squibb Center for Applied Genomics, researchers strive to unlock the secrets of breast and colon cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. They're developing medicines tailored to your unique genes. Bristol-Myers Squibb is beginning a revolution in medicine. Our goal is to extend and enhance life, and to lead the way in new frontiers against disease.
Hope, triumph, and the miracle of medicine. Bristol-Myers Squibb Company.
Everyone knows Santa Claus, but behind the magic is a massive global operation. We work with UPS to bring in raw materials, produce goods, wrapping paper, ground, overnight, international, you name it. Just this morning, I had a shipment of candy canes stuck in customs in Belgium, and one call to my UPS rep straightened the whole thing out. There have been instances where the naughty got toys and the nice got coal, but it's not going to happen on my watch.
Coming up, Muslim students speak out.
Our voices have not been heard so far.
Islam is not a monolith. Progress is being made. The Quran supports America.
Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher.
This is the 2002 Accord from Honda.
As you might expect, it comes with a very impressive array of
Sometimes you just want to cut to the chase.
And best of all, now you can lease the 2002 Accord LX for $239 a month for 39 months. The Accord LX from Honda.
Hey! What? Oh! Oh! Cover him! You and me. That's a half ounce of Seahawk whooping.
Hey, Seahawks fans, come to Jack in the Box for your official Seahawks antenna ball. They're free when you buy a Sourdough Jack combo.
Go Seahawks!
We're at the offices of the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm joined here by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tony
Welcome
Thompson.
to the department, Ted, and thank you for coming over.
Well, thank you. You're kind to have us here. You've been trying to be as buoyant and optimistic as you possibly can, and I realize that this is a fairly new subject for you too. Do you think perhaps you erred at the beginning in being a little too optimistic in terms of your projections of the level of preparedness, both of your department and of the country as a whole?
No, I don't think so, Ted. You know, when you look at it, we've been able to respond very effectively ever since the terrorists attacked on September 11th. We were able to move 50 tons of pharmaceutical supplies into the city of New York within 7 hours, and our plan said 12 hours. We were able to do that in 7 hours. We were able to deliver 50,000 tetanus shots up to the first responders by 5 o'clock on September 11th. We were able to deliver all kinds of gas masks and so on and so forth in order to cover the faces of the first responders. And we've been able to respond to the outbreak of anthrax in Florida and in New York and now in Washington, and we've been there. So I don't think that I have been too optimistic. I think that we've been able to respond.
You do realize when you talk about the outbreaks of anthrax, yes, you haven't had an outbreak of anthrax yet. You haven't had a major anthrax attack yet.
That is true.
I mean, in the event of a major anthrax attack, you could be looking at 20, 30, 50,000 people who have to be treated right away.
Well, let's hope that
well, we all hope and pray that that's not going to happen, but at times like this, it is at least necessary to consider it. Yeah. And I guess what I'm asking you is, in the event of an attack like that, if in fact they have succeeded in weaponizing anthrax, and they have a sufficient quantity that they could either introduce it into the ventilation system of a building or into a subway or drop it from a plane in a vaporized form, would you still make that same projection? Would you still say you are prepared to deal with any eventuality?
I'm saying that we're prepared to respond. And we have...
Respond effectively?
Well, I think so.
Completely?
Well, I hope so, completely, you know, because a lot of people are going to be depending upon us, Ted. And we have 7,000 medical professionals, doctors and nurses, that are on heightened awareness right now, and they're divided in 90 medical assistant teams across America that can move in.
I have no doubt that you have all kinds of people and all kinds of equipment and all kinds of plans and preparations. Yeah. If you had everything you need, there was really no need to turn to Bayer and say triple your production of Cipro.
Well, it's just like anything else, you know. People in America never thought that we would have a bioterrorist attack. Now that we have a bioterrorist attack with anthrax, people feel that we need additional supplies. And I think
Do you feel we need additional supplies?
I think that it's safe. It's much better to be safe than sorry. So we're asking Congress to give us some extra money to go from 2 million individuals that we can now safely administer to up to 60 days to 12 million.
Talk to me for a moment about the anthrax spores that were found in Senator Daschle's office. Yesterday, some federal government official was clearly leaking, because every news organization in this town had the story, and you saw the stories. You heard them last night on television. You saw them this morning in the various major newspapers, talking about it as being a weapons-grade anthrax. You folks and the folks up in the hills seem to be backing away from that a little bit. Spell it out for us. What was it?
Well, I don't know. I've never said it was weapons grade.
No, and you were never quoted as saying
never quoted, no, because we don't know. I mean, those kind of tests are being done at Fort Detrick, and at this point in time, there's no indication, any conclusion or research that it's any different than the anthrax that was sent out in Florida or in New York.
You're telling me there is no evidence that it was different?
Well, no evidence that it is more virulent or stronger as of yet, because there's no conclusive evidence from the research labs. What we try to do, Ted, we try to make sure there's confirmation. We have, when we receive anthrax that tests positive, we send it to one lab, and then it goes to a second lab for confirmation, just to be sure. And that research has not been done yet. And so, or the analysis has not been completed in both labs. So until it is, I cannot confirm whether or not it is different or the same or stronger or not than the anthrax that was delivered in Florida and New York. And so it's inconclusive. It would be speculation on my part.
But you have no information then that suggests that what was found in Senator Daschle's office was appreciably different from any of the other anthrax that's been found so far?
Conclusively, no, I do not.
Well, I listened carefully to what ex-politicians say.
Yes.
In other words, you're hearing that it probably is different, but you don't have conclusive evidence of
Well, you can make that assumption, but all I do...
I don't want to make an assumption. I'm asking you directly. Is that what you're telling me?
Ted, I can tell you this much. I don't have the research analysis, and CDC has not finished its tests. And until CDC finishes those tests, I'm not going to speculate as to whether it's stronger or not. I've heard, as you have heard, that it's different, but conclusive evidence and research analysis has not been given to me to be able to make that statement.
Mr. Secretary, we're going to take a short break. Back with more in a moment with Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tommy Thompson.
We Americans are going through a tragic time. We all have painful emotions following these hideous events. Here are some ways to get through this time of crisis. Please ask for help if you want it. Avoid repetitive viewing of these terrible images. Do something.